And what I want you guys to do is to see if you can sort of give me a truth test. I want you to ask yourself if the words that are coming out of my mouth are matching some of the ideas and things that you're seeing on the screen. You guys think you can do that? All right, great. Okay. So all of the things that you're seeing here, these are all landscapes. And these are all paintings. They're much bigger than this. This one here is actually 2 feet by 3 feet. Anyone into Game of Thrones? All right. Yeah, winter is coming. That one was 30 by 40. This one is much bigger than it is on the screen. This one is 4 feet by 6 feet. And I did this painting on drugs. I got her attention just a little. Let me explain. I skateboard, and at the time I had knee surgery. So I would prop up my leg and pop a couple of Percocet, and I'd be like, whoa, this is what water looks like on drugs. But you can get just the same type of results without using performance-enhancing drugs, okay? So, as I mentioned, I skateboard, and then for a while, besides having all these knee problems, I had some wrist problems. I tend to fall a lot when I skateboard. And so I started painting left-handed. And I had to paint left-handed for about a year. I'm naturally right-handed. The painting that you see here is about 38 by 50 inches, and I did most of it with my left hand, and I actually even designed a dance move, because if you ask me to sign my name left-handed, it's still a bunch of squiggles, but what I would do is I just kind of hold my brush in one spot, and I'd kind of like do this, especially to get some of the grass there. So that worked out pretty well for me. You can't tell I like to paint water. But composition is pretty important to me, and we'll just go back. Whoops, we will go back. There we go. So composition is probably important to you guys too. You've probably been asked by your teacher, by your classmates, well, how are you thinking about the composition? And if you look at this one, I actually invented a lot of things in this painting. In fact, this was mud, so as I mentioned, I really like painting water. I thought if I made some squiggles, some ripples into the water to lead you back into that space, that would be great to get you into that cathedral-like area. And then, you notice how this is like a cathedral? It's called portal, actually, to take you back into that very excellent nature. Right in here, this tree I invented as well, and it's right by where the sky kind of separates there. And if this tree isn't there, this is like a heavy teeter-totter, and just kind of everything goes one way. So this acts as a counterbalance. You guys see that? All right. I've done some artist residencies. When I worked on this painting here, it was from a residency that I did in Alaska. I actually waded into that water, which was glacier fed, and so I was like, hypothermia! It's not the funniest joke. But then people were like, did you see any bear while you were there? And I basically saw bear every day. So that's almost like extreme painting. You're painting and you're on the food chain. So that's kind of a crazy combination of things. And then I started making these landscapes that had these structural frames that I would build. Sometimes, in the case of this one here, I actually welded those railroad spikes there. The title of this one is called The Demise of the Buffalo. And then it led me to doing some figurative work. And so now I'm going to read my artist statement. I'd like you guys to see if the statement that I read you corresponds with the things that you're seeing. You guys think you can do that? All right. My desire to explore the human experience via the metaphor of landscape led me to include figures within nature. I hope that the viewer reads these as metaphysical senses of place. The natural landscape serves as a backdrop to moments of human action, but the emotions conveyed tap into grand universal themes. I aim to make these events feel as real as possible through an attention to detail in hopes that they overwhelm the viewer. In an age where photographs are so readily available, I lend importance to the image by the meditative act of rendering it in paint. After conceiving an idea for a painting, I undertake vigorous photo shoots and call through dozens of reference photos before I start to paint. I look to my painting heroes and often borrow or adapt gestures, scenes, or compositions to have deep conversations with art history. I cast my models as archetypes, and they often in some way have lived these roles. The paintings portray facets of the universal human condition, such as loss, doubt, wisdom, and faith, as to enlighten and remind viewers of their own humanity. On reflection, I realize that these cinematic paintings depict people facing the most elemental conflict in nature, life and death, and they ask more questions than they answer. Oh, what's going on with that red dot? Isn't that crazy? Oh, there we go. Did you guys think you were looking at the same painting when I showed you this? Yeah. As a painter, when you make a painting and you're a narrative painter, the image is still. I mean, it's a really simple idea in terms of it's hard to create something that moves compared to movies. How many of you have seen a movie within the past 2 weeks? Raise your hands. Yeah. And then, when did you guys go to the Taft Museum of Art? It's been a while ago. Has anybody been to a museum since then? I rest my case. So you can see how, as a narrative painter, there's always things that are moving along in a movie. As a painter, you paint something and it's not going to move. So what I did here was I exhibited these two paintings right next to each other. They actually look even more similar than what they do on the screen, but my photography skills are a little bad and they look a little bit different. But your eye goes back and forth, thus creating the movement. Anybody ever been in a situation where you've had to make a split-second decision? That's what this painting's about. If he doesn't do something quick, that fire is going to be out of control. Anyone ever have dreams of tornadoes? Yeah, me too. It's a recurring dream. I've found that a lot of my paintings actually are stand-ins. A lot of the people in my paintings are stand-ins for myself. In the case of this figure here, that's my wife, she's a stand-in for myself, and that house is symbolic of that year. My father had passed away that year, and so this is obviously a New Year's Day celebration, but there's really nothing to celebrate. So it's interesting that when you do artist statements, sometimes and I probably should include that, I probably should revise my artist statement and talk about sometimes the figures actually are stand-ins for myself.